my mom read my teenage diary where I blamed her for our abuse. My dad was pretty abusive. I tried to protect my little brother and would take the brunt of it. As a kid, I always wondered why mom, who loves and supports me, lets it happen. I decided to write out these feels in a journal as teens are to do, blaming her for his actions. I know, now, about where the blame should fall, but I was a beaten, depressed trauma-carrying teen, so it is what it was. Fast forward 20 years, my mom has finally seen the light and divorced dad. I moved her into my place and converted my office into her room. I love her a ton and was more than happy to help her break it off with no longer mother her. I guess when I vowed years ago, the journal of raw feels got left behind. Dad found it and decided to try passing it off to mom. In a bid to get her to come back to him, he gave her the journal, telling her to read it without saying what it was.
Mom did not take it well. She apologized, returned the journal, and we talked out the old feelings. I told her that I do not blame her for the actions of another and that we were in the same abusive situation. I thought we buried the chapter of our lives, but Mom has been dropping little hint of doubts that I actually love her. I'm sure she knows, but she doubts herself all the time. Any advice to reapproaching this topic? I don't think there's any way I can dispel the doubts she has. Update: thank you for the support and the raw ugly truths. I'll have us sit down, discuss it, and set boundaries to leave the past where it is. I am realizing that I cannot make someone else feel a way they don't feel, no matter how sad that may be. If there's anything interesting in this talk, I'll post another update. Thanks again for not pulling punches and being supportive of my recovery/family health. She was responsible for looking after her children and she did fail in that responsibility to some degree. I would just tell her to stop bringing it up in a stern way. The real mistake is you saying it is 100% not her fault, which isn't actually true. While she isn't responsible for what your father did, she is responsible for not getting you out sooner.
Might help to see a trauma therapist together.
We're gonna lay it out bare as some already have and maybe say some things that you might not like. 1. She was responsible for the abuse. She is your parent, and while a victim herself, it was her responsibility to protect you from said abuse. Pretending that's not true and/or invalidating the feelings of the teenage you doesn't make that any less true. 2. Upon discovering it was your journal she should have ceased reading. That was private information and as my mother always says, keep being nosy you gonna get your feelings hurt. 3. And here's the part you're not going to like, she's being emotionally abusive here and I see the potential for it ramping up.
She's saying you don't love her more frequently. That's going to escalate to arguments and/or random outbursts. And whether it's her intent to make you feel guilty for her failures or not, it will. Then you'll be doing more of what you're already doing, shouldering an emotional burden that isn't your problem or fault and being made to swallow, repress, and further disassociate yourself from your feelings and the reality that your mother is very much to blame for her lack of action in an abusive situation. Then you further go down the hole of, I've made my mother upset. She thinks I don't love her. How can I make her see I love her? I must be just as bad as, cycle complete. 4. You deserve honesty. And maybe you should go back and read that journal to get an honest picture of what you're clearly denying now. 5. Your mother needs to shoulder the burden of her inaction. Deal with it and move on. Doing all of this without making it your problem. You were able to escape the abuse. Her current issues with how you felt are putting you right back in the position of being abused. Because you have to relive it, explain it, and protect her feelings. You don't have to, but you're giving her that control. She picked up some nasty habits from your father. Of course she did. Abuse makes some of the best people some of the most manipulative, again intentional or not. 6. And the last piece you might find helpful if you've made it this far. Obviously I love you or you wouldn't be living with me. You need to stop this. Also, in order to live with me, you are to have no contact with him. You're reintroducing abusive behaviors and patterns to my life. You need therapy. Trauma-focused therapy to work through this. That is your responsibility. Getting out was only the first step. Now you have to actively work at healing. But you cannot at all continue in this behavior, or you'll have to relocate, because you're questioning, my love is wearing on my mental health. Your continued contact with my abuser is wearing on my mental health. Your inability or unwillingness to get help is wearing on my mental health. So you need to get it together. I'm here to help you do that. But this has to stop. She probably just needs time in therapy to work through some stuff. Just continue to show you care the same way you normally would. And try not to dwell too much on managing her emotions. Your dad is a dick. And knew this would hurt her. She's faltering and digging around for proof that he's right or he's wrong. He probably still has a lot of sway over her. And she needs time for that to lessen. You are already being supportive. The rest is up to her. She can get through this. I'm more concerned about why she's still in contact with her ex, when he is certainly going to continue to try and bring her down as low as possible. He needs to bug off. I'd just give her hugs occasionally and keep being you. Phone calls every now and then. Maybe write a letter sometime. Whatever ways you would usually show you care. Normal positive contact over a good period of time will probably help ease her fears. Nah fam. It is partially her fault. You are a child. She is your mother. The biggest responsibility as a parent is to protect your babies no matter what. She failed at that, but if y'all can acknowledge that and move forward together, then it's all good. Be you. Things like this should never be sugar-coated. She was the adult, so she is responsible in a way that you are not. She may have been a victim too. But she was the adult. So a few things, because I see a few PPL putting your mom through the ringer and not undeservingly. So, 1. You are not responsible for protecting your mom and her feelings. She was responsible for protecting you. And she did not. Just like everyone here has said. So do not feel guilty one bit. 2. Your mom has lived through years of abuse, feeling unloved. That she is always at fault. That she could do nothing right. Likely years of manipulation from your dad. So now she is unsure of herself, and probably this is her instinct. Mom is likely still in flight or fight mode. Thinking she is unlovable and messes up everything she touches. Please afford her some understanding, but again, this is not for you to fix. 3. I think boundaries are great. I think mom also needs to attend therapy for herself to work through her emotions, because you are not her therapist. 4. Your dad is an asshole. She failed you. She permitted your abuse. She should absolutely feel guilty. She has self-esteem issues. That's why she stayed with him for so long and why she is insecure now. If you give in to her game of reassuring her, it will never end. You cannot fix her by caving into this manipulation. She has to come to terms with it herself. Tell your mother that you love her. But you will not apologize for what you wrote as a child under the awful shadow of your abusive father. You felt what you felt at that time. And it was awful. You have explained to her how you feel now and that you do not blame her. Now let her know that you will not keep revisiting it. She has to find a way to deal with her feelings of guilt and rejection herself. Let her know that you will be happy to help her find a therapist. But you will not play games reassuring her about things you wrote as an abused child. You have made a home for her so she could escape him herself. That is enough.
If she still has any doubts, they are coming from inside herself.
It's hard. I'm currently working with someone who has mountains of evidence of abuse. Literal photos, videos, witness testimony over decades, recordings, voicemails, letters. Witness testimony of past abuse of multiple people. Witnesses at a party. His own family members came forward to support the wife and child. And they are still giving him 50% custody because they argue that if it was really that unsafe, why didn't she leave sooner? That's literally what actual lawyers have put into writing as their argument. When women say they feel there's no way out, it's because there honestly isn't a way out that protects everyone. I don't know what the right answer is. She now has an apartment, gets no alimony or child support, but is at least safe, and her child is safe 50% of the time. But she has no way to protect her child while she is with him half the time. However, the ways she was protecting her child while they were all together probably still wouldn't be enough because they were still in an abusive situation and it still wasn't okay. I guess what I'm saying is this. However you feel is valid. I already feel like you're giving your mom grace by loving her, inviting her into your home and dealing with her processing of this. She needs therapy. You need therapy. And you deserved so much better. You don't deserve to be guilt-tripped. I also understand why women rarely leave or take a long time to do so. Have you and her gone to counseling? Individually or together? I think you both need to work out how you feel about the abuse. Especially if you never have spoken with a therapist. Tell her that as long as she is living with you that there is no doubt. But if she does not let this go, it is making you relive the abuse and she needs to find somewhere else to live. She is going to hold a sense of shame for the rest of her life. In order for her to work through that shame, she needs to build self-compassion and align herself with healthy relationships where she can see her worth and eventually believe in her worth. This is where you come in. Be consistent. Tell her that you love her even when she isn't asking and when you feel it come naturally. She just needs a reminder every now and then that you do love her. The rest of the work is on her. Sounds like you've gotten peace from many answers here, but to address a few things. You can love your mom and also be angry at her for leaving you in that situation, while also simultaneously understanding that abuse wears people down and leaving is difficult. You also have a right to be angry at your mom for reading your teenage diary. TBH, that is a violation of privacy. I hope you both have access to counseling. But, for right now, you do get to lay down a firm boundary with her. You should not be put in a situation where you have to alleviate her guilt, which is what her hints are trying to get you to do. She needs to get trauma-informed counseling and do that for herself. I suggest, I love you, Mom. I am glad you are here and safe. I have trauma from my childhood and I wish to process it in a safe manner. I wish the same for you. I am not sure about forgiveness at this time. But even if my teen self was rightfully angry with you, that does not mean my present self doesn't love you. A lot of others are saying this. I'll just underline it. She was complicit in your abuse. She didn't leave. She didn't prosecute him. She didn't protect you. So while your father is responsible for the abuse, she is also somewhat responsible. Unraveling that will be the work of years. So don't beat yourself up. You need therapy. She needs therapy. And you probably need family therapy together. But understand this. The wife of an abusive husband and the mother of abused children survives in that household by any means necessary. And some of those means are manipulation. Her hints are manipulation. And you need to set boundaries and bring up these manipulations in family therapy. It's not okay for her to do this. You can say, if I thought you were the real instigator here, would I have let you move in here? But I did let you. Right? Quote. Well, she is to blame. She let it happen. You and she need to go to a therapist. Mom has been dropping little hint of doubts that I actually love her. I'm sure she knows. But she doubts herself all the time. I'm going to guess the shame of not doing the right thing is overwhelming to you, and she likely can't imagine how you could have forgiven her. You just need to ask her if she needs someone to talk to, because she seems to have internalized what you wrote in the journal, and she's really letting your dad succeed in his goal. He wants her to feel like her own daughter, can't forgive and move on, but you have.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.